What would you do if over 100 men, women, and children disappeared without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a single word carved into a wooden post? This is the mystery of Roanoke, a vanished colony that's haunted history for over 400 years. Let's uncover the chilling clues and theories behind one of history's greatest enigmas. Welcome to Vanished, stories of the disappeared, where the shadows of history come alive. I'm April, your guide on a journey through some of the most perplexing and haunting mysteries the world has ever known. Each week, we'll explore vanishings that leave behind questions that refuse to be silenced. Today, we travel back in time to 1587, to the shores of Roanoke Island, where over 100 settlers vanished, leaving behind only a single cryptic word: Croatoan. What happened to the Roanoke Colony? Were they assimilated into local tribes, wiped out by harsh conditions, or victims of something far more sinister? This is a tale of hope, survival, and a silence that has lasted for over 4 centuries. Let's journey together into the shadows of history to uncover the story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. The founding of the colony. The story begins in 1587, when Sir Walter Raleigh, an English explorer, funded an expedition to establish a permanent English settlement in the New World. Raleigh had long been a favorite of Queen Elizabeth I and was granted a royal charter to explore and colonize lands in her name. For Raleigh, this mission was about more than just expanding England's empire. It was a chance to challenge Spain's dominance in the Americas, spread Protestantism, and secure a foothold for England in this promising land. Governor John White led this group of 115 settlers, landing on Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. This wasn't England's first attempt at colonization here, but it was their most ambitious. White, an artist and cartographer, was deeply invested in the success of the colony, not just as a leader, but as a father and grandfather. Among the settlers was White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, who soon gave birth to a daughter of her own. This child, Virginia Dare, became the first English baby born in the New World, symbolizing hope and new beginnings for the fledgling colony. I often think about Eleanor's courage, traveling across the ocean, pregnant, to an unfamiliar land. What dreams must she have had for her daughter? The settlers themselves came for a variety of reasons. Some sought freedom from religious persecution. Others were drawn by the promise of land and opportunity, and many hoped to escape the poverty and overcrowding of England's cities. It was a journey of risk and hope, but one that soon turned to hardship. The settlers faced dwindling supplies, hostile relations with some of the indigenous tribes, and an unforgiving environment. By August of 1587, just weeks after their arrival, White was forced to return to England to gather much-needed provisions. As I read about John White leaving his family behind, I couldn't help but imagine his thoughts as he sailed away. Did he believe he would see them again? Did he realize that this would be the last time anyone would hear from the Roanoke settlers? The mysterious disappearance. It would be 3 long years before John White was able to return to Roanoke. His return was delayed by a series of challenges beyond his control. England was preparing for war with Spain, and Queen Elizabeth I had ordered all available ships to be used in defense against the Spanish Armada. White had no choice but to wait. Even after the Armada was defeated in 1588, White faced further setbacks. A private expedition he secured was attacked by French pirates. The resulting battle left the fleet damaged, and the vital supplies White had intended to bring back to Roanoke were lost. Frustrated and desperate, he was forced to return to England once again to regroup. It wasn't until August of 1590 that White finally secured passage on a privateering expedition that agreed to drop him off at Roanoke. By then, 3 years had passed. Imagine what those years must have been like for the colonists, left to fend for themselves in an untamed land, and for White, knowing his family was waiting, possibly in peril. When he finally arrived at Roanoke, the colony he had left behind was gone. The houses and fortifications had been dismantled, as if the settlers had left deliberately rather than in haste. There were no signs of struggle, no mass graves, no clues, except one. Carved into a wooden post was the word Croatoan. Nearby, the letters CRO were etched into a tree. These inscriptions were the only hints as to where the settlers might have gone. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, now called Hatteras Island, and also the name of a Native American tribe that lived in the area. But there was no definitive evidence that the settlers had relocated there. The search for Croatoan. Upon finding the word Croatoan carved into the post, John White saw a glimmer of hope. It was the clue he desperately needed, a sign that perhaps the settlers had relocated to Croatoan Island, home to the friendly Croatoan tribe. White immediately prepared to sail to the island to search for his family and the other colonists, but fate was unkind. Before he could set out, fierce storms rolled in, making the voyage dangerous and forcing his crew to abandon the mission. The ship, already low on supplies and weather-worn from the long journey, was in no condition to continue. With no choice but to return to England, White left Roanoke, never knowing if his loved ones had survived. As I think about this moment, I feel the weight of White's anguish. Imagine having a possible answer just within reach, only to have it torn away by forces beyond your control. Did the settlers wait for him on Croatoan? Did they move further inland? These unanswered questions are what make Roanoke one of history's most haunting mysteries. John White's account of that day is haunting. He described walking through the abandoned site and seeing his personal belongings looted and spoiled. The settlers' houses had been taken down methodically, and there was an eerie silence over the area. He had buried items before leaving 3 years earlier, and those were unearthed and destroyed as well. One detail stood out: the absence of the agreed-upon distress signal. The settlers had planned to carve a Maltese cross if they had been forced to leave under duress. Its absence suggested that the colonists had left willingly. But why, and to where? The eerie silence of the empty settlement must have weighed heavily on John White. Imagine returning to find your family and friends simply gone, with no explanation. As I think about this moment, I can almost feel his desperation. How do you begin to search for 115 people across untamed wilderness with nothing but a single word as your guide? White's narrative is one of heartache and mystery, and it's these vivid details that make the Lost Colony such an enduring enigma. If you want to read his first-hand account, I highly recommend checking out his writings in The Fifth Voyage of M. John White, which provide a haunting glimpse into what he saw that day. Theories and speculations. For centuries, historians and archaeologists have debated the fate of the Roanoke settlers. Let's explore some of the most compelling theories surrounding their disappearance. Theory 1. Assimilation with native tribes. One leading theory is that the settlers integrated with nearby indigenous tribes, such as the Croatoan. Stories passed down among native communities describe Europeans joining their tribes, adopting their customs, and even intermarrying. Archaeological evidence on Hatteras Island suggests European presence, but no definitive proof has been found. Theory 2. Starvation or disease. Another possibility is that the settlers succumbed to starvation or disease. The challenges of survival in a harsh and unfamiliar environment could have taken their toll. Without adequate food or medicine, life in Roanoke would have been a daily struggle. But again, there's no evidence of mass graves or remains to confirm this. Theory 3. Hostile conflict. Could the settlers have been attacked by hostile tribes? The early colonists had strained relationships with some indigenous groups, and tensions may have boiled over into violence. Yet, the absence of signs of a battle at the site complicates this theory. Theory 4. Supernatural or paranormal. As with any enduring mystery, the supernatural finds its way into the narrative. Some suggest that the settlers were victims of curses, ghosts, or even alien abduction. While these ideas stretch the imagination, they reflect our innate desire to explain the inexplicable. Theory 5. Move to a new settlement. Finally, some believe the settlers relocated to a different area in search of better resources. This theory aligns with the inscriptions referencing Croatoan, but it's unclear why no definitive trace of them has ever been found. Each theory holds pieces of the puzzle, but none provide the full picture. As I explore these possibilities, I'm struck by how much we still don't know. The mystery of Roanoke isn't just about the past. It's about how history's unanswered questions continue to shape our curiosity. Legacy of the Lost Colony. The story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke has endured for over 4 centuries, becoming a symbol of mystery and perseverance. It has inspired countless books, films, and works of art, each one attempting to unravel what happened to those 115 men, women, and children. For me, Roanoke is more than just a historical mystery. It's a reminder of human resilience, the fragility of survival, and the enduring pull of the unknown. Every time I revisit this story, I find myself imagining the settlers' final days. Were they hopeful? Desperate? Did they ever think their story would remain untold for generations? Today, Roanoke continues to capture our imaginations. Archaeologists still search for clues, and new technologies offer hope of uncovering answers. But maybe the real power of this story lies in its mystery, in its ability to remind us of the questions we may never answer. Conclusion and call to action. So what do you think happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Were they victims of tragedy, or did they find a way to survive? I'd love to hear your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story from Vanished, Stories of the Disappeared. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.